Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Locked In. Tonight, we're going to go back to Colorado once again. We had a pretty good look at Travis Hunter, the wide receiver, defensive back for Colorado, and we focused a lot on his offensive play. And in the course of that video, we talked about the chemistry that he had with his quarterback, Shedeur Sanders. And tonight we're going to look at Shedeur Sanders, probably the first in maybe a pair of videos on Shedeur. And this one, it's a pretty rough game. I think everybody remembers that the hot before the Oregon game, and you know, Dan Lanning had his team flat out ready to play, and they took it to Colorado. But we what we want to kind of do tonight is to take into consideration what the Shedeur Sanders is dealing with here, because one of the things that you see is that there's plenty of times that, and it's well known, the offensive line really fails him. But there's also times whenever just the blocking scheme in general fails him. And so I think it, ends up, with putting him into a position where he is not very confident about the amount of time that he's going to have. And it rushes him through things. But what you'll see is there's some uh, moments where we see what looked like to us one read passes. Most of them are deep shots. There's a particular guy that they're targeting. A lot of underneath stuff that is quicker, and the problem that they ran into is with the defense that Oregon was running. Those overhang linebackers on the outside were really waiting on a lot of stuff, so it was hard to break things. And then, the other thing that I think that you see at times is there's some evidence that Sanders is working through a progression. So, you see a movement toward that. It doesn't happen on every play, at least of what we see here. There's a probably an even mix of, times when you see him work through a progression, and, and even one case where he dumps off to a back. But in other cases, it's I guess you could just say one and throw, basically. You also will see some of his running skills, but the thing that I think is interesting about him is that, when you think Deion Sanders, you think just really a supreme runner. I mean, could, really do things with the ball in his hands. And that's not how that I think, at least to me, and Chance, you may agree, that's not how Shedeur strikes me as being. He can pick up yards on the run, but he's definitely he wants to throw the football. Like, I mean, he's not looking, to escape quickly. And I think that sometimes just with maybe the schemes, and definitely, with the blockers that Colorado had last year, I don't think that played into his favor. So, the thing that I would say, I mean, I think I have a more positive read, and I've been one that, never on here, but, in like last year, I found it hard to buy into Colorado. And I think that part of that was, that they really received a lot of hype, and I would have preferred to see them, I guess, kind of rise, a little more modestly, instead of beating the drum as much as what they did. But I understand it, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with how that especially Deion Sanders promoted the program. He really brought them out of nowhere. And he got them a lot of attention that they otherwise wouldn't have gotten. And so I think that maybe, the idea behind that was that maybe they needed some hype in order to get buzz around Colorado football, and they knew that they were going to have to bring in some better players, better offensive line, just anybody they can get really that can help them out from where they were last year to this year. And so I think that's what we're hoping for. If we're going to give a positive read to Colorado and what they could do, this upcoming season. And I think also that adding Pat Shermer, who has been, quite successful offensive coordinator in the NFL and has a track record of working with young quarterbacks. I mean, I think that that's, obviously a big benefit to Shedeur that, that Dion is trying to do, and, trying to work him into a pro style offense. I think things will look different from Colorado. But, I guess the jury will be out until we see them stabilize some, and and beat some of the better teams. I mean, I think that they got a good shot, to win some games this year. Um, do I think that they're going to be a playoff team? No, probably not. But I think that there's a chance for some improvement. And I think that in that regard, I think that Shedeur could maybe build. build his draft stock up. He's obviously got to be looking for the next level. And I think that, that he's got some stuff to work with. I think Shermer's a guy who could help him out, but there's still so many things that we just don't know about Colorado. Because I mean, just in this film, as you'll see, um, there are moments that look great, and there are moments that don't look so great. And part of that, is Oregon was really ready for him. Part of that is that Colorado's offensive line and blocking schemes were not ready to help him out. So there's just a lot that we don't know. But he has his moments, and we definitely want to point that out. But we also have to say that we feel like that there's a lot that we still don't know about what he's going to be able to do this year. And so, with that, in that regard, I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. And let's go ahead and dig into it. So, what's your first impression on all this, Chance?
Um, I mean, Oregon is the most elite team Colorado played all year, and I mean they were a very elite team, only losing to Washington twice. And their coaching staff is very good as well. And it's what makes them so elite, in my opinion. What makes them stand out is their coaching staff. And I think Colorado's coaching staff is just kind of what fails the team in a lot of aspects, along with Shedeur, because they really don't put him in a winning situation most of the times. And I think that is what hurts Shedeur and gets him a lot of flack usually.
Just go ahead and start watching some of these plays.
Yeah, I mean, you'll start off and I mean, you see him get through two reads, and I mean, he's getting pressured, throws a bad ball. Um, I mean, the only thing you could really talk about is, his footwork. He's over there throwing off the back foot. We always, you're taught, throw forward, throw through, not throw off your back foot. So, I mean, you can talk about footwork. You'll see it a few times in this video. His footwork just doesn't line up with throws. And I mean, you might say, well, an elite quarterbacks know how to do that. Well, they also need coaching. So, I mean, however you want to put that upon, I think going into this new pro style type offense that they're trying to run next year, that we believe so, you'll get a lot more of that footwork down, and he'll be throwing on time instead of off a time and off his back foot like this.
One of the things I wonder on this is that sometimes, whenever um, you see a defense set up like this versus the play that Colorado runs, which you essentially have the inside receiver um, clears out and the underneath or the outside receiver comes underneath. And so you should have, in most circumstances, an opening right here. But the problem that I think that Colorado faces is is this basically looks like a kind of like I'm not going to say that it is, but it's a kind of 3-3 look almost when you walk, this safety figure down. And what happens is that this is not a bad idea, but the linebacker right in the middle is the one that's really going to cause this play a lot of trouble. And now, like what you said, I think that when you watch how his feet cross, he tries to throw this ball, out of a pretty bad, kind of a crisscross look. And it's just not going to get there. And I don't think that he anticipated that middle linebacker sitting right square in the middle of the field in the spot where he needs to throw this ball. So, you can see um, so the space opens right there, just right at the arrow of the 40. The space opens, but the trouble is there comes that linebacker right down into the space. And no doubt that's going to affect this play. So I mean, it
I'll
wasn't
say
it wasn't, a bad design, but there was no way to get him out. And on top of that, if like I mean, I don't know if you really should say that it's necessary, like when we say like a one read, like there's one receiver that the ball's going to. Well, I think that it's probably set up to go to him, but the thing of it is that there's nobody else over here to help. Like so, when this linebacker's here, he doesn't. There's no I guess there's no conflict. Whereas what I wonder is if they ran this more as like a traditional air raid snag play, where you create a triangle like they've got number 5 right here, the inside receiver, who's going essentially on a corner route. You got this, which, could be, the snag route, the slant with the sit, like right in between the hash mark and the number. If you have the running back on this side or the opposite side to swing out to the flats, at that point, both of these men, the defenders for Oregon, are occupied, and that makes this linebacker is really in a bad spot. And you'll see a lot of times that in this film, uh, Shedeur's really good at putting the ball out into the running back in the flat. He has no problem doing that. I mean, a lot of people try to force stuff downfield, but if you set him up right there, all of a sudden, what becomes, a pretty, rough, incomplete pass is going to set up, a 3rd and 10. I think all of a sudden, you're looking more like about probably like a 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, and you're there about the 35-yard line. And so I think that changes things. Just a play design, I think right here changes something. And so I don't know what else he can do because that's his guy to throw the ball to. That's who he's going to have to throw it to.
I mean,
And
I think
it's not the
that's a
best
big
situation for him.
I think that's a big footwork thing still though, like throwing it on time like that. He needs to throw the ball now to be able to complete that really where he'd want to instead of getting rushed and thrown off his back foot. He needs to be driving into that right now instead of rolling back even more. Step
Yeah.
up, throw the ball.
No, I see what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, you
Because
just
right
got to
there's where the opening is.
you kind of just got to step up and throw the ball, and he kind of just goes backwards. It's like he's not confident when he throws. Like he's just not confident in throwing. Sometimes, I mean, you see it quite a few times.
And I mean, in this right here, I mean, what you essentially have is just, it's almost it's not a slant.
It's a
Looks more like a
drag.
quick dig. Yeah, it's like a really quick looking, drag dig whenever he comes across because, he stems upward there, cuts, comes in. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, it's just that's a tough one.
Yeah, and I mean, that's just one of them 3rd and 10. Um, I mean, you can see Oregon playing to the sticks, 3rd and 10.
Hmm.
I guess their thing is, get it to an athlete and let them try to get some yards. But on 3rd and 10, I'd try to look to, especially being on the 40-yard line, let's try to at least get in field goal range, um, go downfield instead of, get, throw it 1 yard after the line of scrimmage. So
I
like,
agree with
I
that.
think that's just more play calling than anything. Because I mean, you see him looking at pre-snap reads right here, and he's throwing to him like pretty obviously.
Well, and I think too, like when you look at this play unfold, it just
It,
really, it
I
is, it's
I mean I get
essentially,
it. They was thinking he's got a one-on-one with this guy, he's gonna go block him, but I mean it ends up with him really having to beat two guys because I mean he can't really run inside or he runs to that linebacker. If he goes up,
yeah.
he goes to that. Yeah, I mean some. It's not really a one-on-one, but that's what you're trying to look for in that one-on-one between them two.
And that's, it's similar to what I was going to say about it is like when you come back and look at this, the thing that I think that, you have to look at whenever you know that you have got, whatever you want to call, the fast screen, up there to the outside receiver. Usually when you throw these, unless you think you got somebody who's really going to break something, it's a numbers game. And so I think, he obviously looks to this left side right there. He just peeks it. I'm like you. I don't think, I mean, even though he looks at that side, I don't think that he's going to throw it there. But now you could give the benefit of the doubt and say, he saw the linebacker, in his, out of his, peripheral vision, knew that there's color going out there to cover this running back and that probably the best bet's going to be over here. But the problem is whenever you run one of these wide receiver screen concepts, you count the numbers. And if you've got, if you got an advantage, run it. But they don't have an advantage, in my opinion, right here. And
I
like what
mean,
you
they
said, when the
they did
linebacker
with
sees this,
pre-snap. Like pre-snap, that linebacker's on the line. It looks like they're blitzing 3rd and 10.
yeah.
So I mean,
But
but
you're still you're still I mean, to me, it's a huge
yeah,
gamble
yeah.
saying, this guy is going to beat this guy. Because that, I mean, to me, when it's 3rd and 10, he's coming up here. They're going to get to that play pretty quickly. You're asking that right wide receiver to do a whole lot. And then on top of that, too, I mean, I think you got to take into consideration they're throwing this into the boundary. So you're compressing the space that he's got to make the move. And so, like you say, I mean, his options pretty much are limited. Watch it one more time through and then move on to the next one. Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully better play calling next year. Here, he kind of tries to go through his reading, his progression, ends up getting sacked. And this one's just a
Yeah,
one read, bad throw. So I don't
I mean, with this one, one of the things that I think that I wonder about, and I know some people, different people will have different takes on this,
stepping in
but
the
yeah, that
pocket.
just right there, that line you drew, um, he has got an escape route right there, and you'll see later on he's good at taking advantage of them. Now I understand. Number 69 didn't help him out at all right here, left tackle. I mean, this is pitiful. Uh, but the thing of it is that, I think that it goes back to, I think, what you were saying about that very first play is like, I think like a forward moving mentality is what you need right here. I think that's something that, that Shermer can help him to develop because, in my opinion, that's like, we got in, I guess we've caught a lot of flack from the Florida people who are going to be rescued by DJ Lagway next year, apparently, um, about how, like, our thing was is like, boy, that his arm slot is interesting. I think it's hard to fix an arm slot. And that's not to say that he can't make it work. He might be able to make it work perfectly, but when you see that, that's the first thing that stands out to me about a quarterback. It's where do they throw the ball from? Uh, Tim Tebow, good Lord, how many coaches and how many years was spent trying to change his natural arm motion, which nobody wanted. And it never worked out. I mean, in fact, you could argue that it cost him a career. I'd say people said there were other factors that weighed into that, but that had a lot to do with it. Is, he did not look like a pro passer. And I think that makes a difference, to people in the NFL. So that's hard to fix. I don't think it's hard to fix stepping up in a pocket. I mean, do you?
No, like footwork is one of the easier things to fix with a quarterback.
And so, I anticipate that. This is one of the spots where if I'm Pat Shermer and, and I'm watching the same film, because this is what I would watch. And maybe some people think that it's a negative way to go about things, but I think you want to watch him, when they are up against, their
The
toughest
best
competition,
talent, yeah.
watch him. That's exactly it. Is like what? Because I think the question when you got a guy like Shermer who has had some success, some real good success, in the NFL with working with young quarterbacks, is I think you come in and you say, I want to see what he looks like, against the best, even if it's not the prettiest thing in the world. Like, what is something I can fix right now? Like, first week of spring practice, what is something that I can implement that's going to make him better? And I think that you're right. I think it's footwork. And I think that, that's something that can be fixed. And that's something that, that it will eliminate, that errant throw on the first play we watched. It will possibly, eliminate these sacks like this where he could step up. And if he can hit that B gap, he's going to pick up some yards right here, if we watch this one unfold. And I know, like, right there, um, he's set ready to throw. 69's bailing out. Give him a heads up. Surely he did. And again, you got to feel that too, I think. But
But I mean, as a
at that
quarterback,
point, I understand.
you expect that pocket though. As a quarterback, you should expect that pocket and to step up in it.
And and I would like to see that, in the future, like, instead of, waiting back there, uh, whenever it collapses, what happens, if he can step up and take that. Because if you go back and just look at the room that he's got right here. And I know it's, you're playing, I guess in the case of college, you're playing Sunday morning quarterback. But boy, I'm telling you, if he steps up into that lane, look at all this open space. he can at the very minimum get back to the line of scrimmage, make this, an easier third down.
If
And
not,
he
throw
might
the
even be able to get up
football.
to around the 30.
Yeah.
I mean, he could, there's options whenever he steps up. So I mean, that's something. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing, if he can do. And I think that, Shermer can, help him out in that regard. So we move on, and we got right here. This is like, what Chance said a minute ago. This is, absolutely a play action, one read to the top of the screen. And whenever I watch this one, the thing that I wonder, I mean, and I think he's doing what they're asking him to do. And so, and that's something I think is, is a plus that, he's going to do, what the coaches tell him to do. And right here, obviously, what I think that they've told him to do is let's take a shot, because I mean they're down 13, 13-0. That's not what they expected to be. First quarter is just about to come to a close. They've gotten back into Oregon territory, so they're having some success. At least field position wise. Let's try one. Let's chunk it deep, and so it's going to go to the top. And my question is, at what point is this receiver at the top of the screen open enough to justify throwing this football to him?
And even with that, it's like the football isn't necessarily in the right position to be caught. I mean, that's an inside ball, and I mean it's not over his head, like it's not out in front of him. It's kind of just on him when it needs to be outside and ahead.
And and it's tough because that throw can be made, but if you look, I mean, I know part of it, unfortunately, the screen cuts it out, but right there, number 5 for Oregon, the cornerback, is right in his face, right on his tail, step for step. There's no, um, there's no separation right here. And right here, I think you get some, but like you said, that ball is not put in a place to keep him going. I don't think he gets away from him anyhow. I mean, that's some good coverage. He's looking back at the ball, got his right arm across the receiver's chest. Unless that thing drops in perfect right behind him, like you said, outside and a little short, there is no way, in my opinion, that ball's getting caught. Then it's still going to be a tough catch to make. Hard throw, hard catch. Could be done, maybe, but I just have to think that there's something better you could do with the football. And so that takes me back into one of the things. I know you said it a little earlier. Is did they do a good job of putting him in position? Because watch this. I mean, watch what happens with, and I know that might not be the concept that they're trying to do right here, but something as simple as watch what happens. They run the running back crosses the quarterback's face, goes in a sweep action, to make the defense bite on the run fake. But who is out there to cover this running back after this? Whenever you see your outside receiver, just completely covered, look at what happens to this running back, though. There is not a soul there. And so my question would be, um, it's not going to be my question, it's going to be my statement. I think they really failed him right here because there's no other place to go. No other place to go with that football. And all it would have taken is for that running back just to wheel up just a little bit, and he could have picked up yards for him. So, I mean, I think that's as much on coaching as it is anything else.
Yeah, just design
It's
the
a thousand
play.
winners out of all those intercepted.
Yep. And then even going into it again, a little bit of hesitancy there and ends up throwing a pick. I
Yeah.
mean, he just doesn't look confident in a lot of his throws. And I'd say that's a big thing that, you need as a quarterback to have that confidence to just throw it into any window and be able to. Um, Sitting still again, getting forced out of
And
that pocket on a
yeah.
four-man rush where you could step up. So I mean, just reiterating things that, we're gonna see throughout this entire video.
Yeah, and I mean, and right here, you have to feel, and I think the thing I would say is, you know, throw it away.
Totally. Yeah, you're right there.
Just throw it away. Throw it away. And I
Third and
understand
18.
because, you look at this picture right here. there is nothing. There's not one thing that he can do. And if he has a receiver who's going to be, who has a presence of mind to get back down the sideline on a comeback, we got a different story because that's one of those things that we said before is like that we always will point out, at least like among ourselves, we always point out how good of a job that Michigan's JJ McCarthy does with this one particular throw. That I mean, he rolls to the right and he has a 12-yard comeback and he hits it almost every single time unless a team is, like Alabama did and schemes to take it away from him. You would want to think that they will give him something like this, especially knowing. And I mean, and I know that you don't go into it thinking this way, but I'm always whenever I coach. I mean, I'm usually as negative as I can possibly be. And I think about all the things that can go wrong and what we need to have installed in order to, I guess, survive situations that are going to happen. And in this case, you right here have an image where you have a four-man pass rush that has beaten not just the offensive line, it's beaten six blockers. Oregon's four is better than Colorado's six. And that's why I think Shedeur Sanders gets into, really into rabbit mode. And he's got to save himself and he's got to find a way to do something with his football. And you look at the score, I mean, it's 21-0. Um, getting close to halfway through the second quarter, you're officially in killing ground. I mean, you really are. I don't see you coming back from this hole. And so, I mean, I think that this offensive line just, screws him over hard. And so he's trying to find something. He's looking for somebody. You can tell by the way that he's looking downfield, he wants somebody to help him out. And he wants somebody coming back to the football. Well, if you look at where they're at now, maybe he is, but he seems a little too deep. I don't think that this guy who looks like, a tight end, I mean, like, a big, Y or H in an air raid scheme, I don't think that guy can get over here to the sideline and catch that ball, not from where he's at. I just don't think that he's fast enough to do it. And so all of a sudden, like it looks to me like what Colorado's theory was, is that like you talked about Oregon's defense playing the sticks earlier, it looks like that they want that receiver to the stick, maybe beyond the stick, and so they're looking for a first down here. Uh, when I mean, I understand that you're in a bad spot, you're in an embarrassing spot, but at the same time, I don't know if the answer is to run what ends up being like a like 19 to 17-yard comeback. That's just that's not viable in my opinion, and all he can do is throw an interception in this window. So, I think you just got to throw it away.
Yep. I mean, not much else to say about that one.
No, I don't think so.
So, I mean, he gets this complete here. Good little dump off across the middle. Not much footwork involved in it. Stands flat footed throwing it.
Yep.
So, I mean, just reiteration.
I think this is the kind of thing that Colorado was looking for. But at the same time, look at how well Oregon handles it. So, you've got the safety 33 who they had, in an earlier clip, they had him walked up. And as soon as he crosses, he knows exactly where the ball's going. And I think that's on scheme. That's on
Yeah, they're
coaching.
just playing a man
Whenever,
with the spa. You can see
yeah,
that that's
and
what they're
so
doing. That's why they had all six on the line and that one drop back earlier. They're just
yeah,
using that as a spa.
and whenever and it's pretty doggone. You're pretty confident in knowing uh, what they're doing and how you want to do it. If you're to the place to where you tell this safety, hey, trail this guy, go make this play. And I think that whenever you do that, you have a very particular idea of how their offense is working. You need that one linebacker in there to take care of the rush, and he's not really trying to hurt him with his legs. I don't know, how much he could. He could. I mean, I don't think he's going to break a touchdown run against Oregon. But what ends up happening is this spy sitting there on the 40, he really affects things like this. And I think that it helps. He helps, for 33 to be able to get over top here, and make a stop that that on a play that could have opened up for a lot more. I mean, this is a good play by Oregon safety right there. That's a good open field tackle. So I mean, they pick up yards, but it's not what you want. And then here you have the subsequent third down, and once again we see
Yeah, I mean,
just
could have
all
stepped up in the pocket again. I mean, you see that from the beginning, but instead of going forward, you just see him wanting to go backwards. I mean, you see it time and time again. Just fix the footwork, and a lot of things will be a lot better and bolder.
Yeah, I tell you, that's just rough all the way around. That's rough because I mean I think obviously the right tackle's beat inside, and if he's going to have to come back up in this pocket. Maybe the guard gets down there and helps clear that spot out. But I do agree with you. I see I see the mess that's there, but I agree with you that the idea is you're going to have to step up and throw, and it doesn't seem like that's what he
But I mean,
is trained
at
to
the
do.
same time, we talk about how messy it looks. Well, I mean, if 78 just walks inside with him, he flatbacks him right there, and you should see number 10 right here get open right here. So I mean, if he steps up in that pocket and he gets an extra second, number 10 is going to be open right there. And I mean, you just step up and throw it. And I mean, with that, he at least gets a first down on 3rd and 6. Yep, just right there. That little rub route right there.
There's just a little bit of hesitation, in the pocket.
Yep. And I mean,
Now
not
this will
not really
not be
much
very
to be
common.
said about this. I ain't gonna say step up in the pocket there. It's just bad offensive line play. But we was trying to. I tried to get all of his actual like drop back passes from the Oregon game, and this happened to be one of them, and he did get sacked. I mean, just flat out sacked. I
Yeah,
still blame that on coach and block this better. I mean, they got beat by 4 men all night, so I mean, figure it out, boys.
yeah, yeah. I mean, this is once again it's 4-on-6, right?
Yeah. I
And the
mean,
running back, and you're trying to help out on this linebacker, and I don't know. They don't seem.
seems like the mythical Dion just don't understand the intricacies of actually coaching football instead of playing.
Yeah, no matter how far you want to take any thoughts like that, you have to say, um, they're stone cold beat with two less players. I mean, that's
I don't
you
care if
got
you're
4
three
defenders.
stars or no stars. That's
No, yeah, if you can't put a hat on hat, you ain't gonna. It don't make a difference who you got.
yeah. I mean, free runners. That's just I mean, I
And
don't know.
and that's one of the things that always I think about, and I think it does go to show you. I mean, Colorado really they really did struggle with the offensive line, but this here when you go look and you're thinking about this just coming to the line as a center. So what you need to be thinking about is how are we going to allocate all these the blocks for all these people. And so, you got your first wave on the line, but then you got two linebackers standing here. And if you look at the demeanor, I mean, all three of these guys right here look like they're fixing to go. So are all of them going to go? No, probably not. But are some of them? Definitely. And so I think that my
I mean,
thought
you
here
prepare for the
is
worst.
centers. Yeah. That center's eyes, he needs to be going to a linebacker. And and this is just one of those, and we don't even, you don't have to usually you don't see this happen at the top college level, but it's a high school thing that what happens is you'll see a lot of times bad offensive line play in high school. You will have the inside player rushes too quick to help the guy just outside of it. And what happens when you do that, when this center comes down to try to help out, the guard, it opens up a gigantic daylight hole. And in this case, you've got to see these blitzers. You got to see them. So like at that point, like what do we got right here? You got two linebackers who are coming in the middle. You got the defensive tackle, I guess you could say, on the top. You got the end below, two linebackers. Nobody to really pick them up. You can get one of them maybe, but you ain't gonna get both of them. And here comes a guy off the end, like a just a
Well, five
absolute
did
speed
come.
home.
Five did come, but I mean,
So
still,
5 games. So we got 5 on 6.
still, that's one untouched off the edge.
And, with that one, like I guess just to go back, here's the thing, and you saw, I mean, it's in Colorado, we can poke at them for doing this, but man, I'm telling you, Alabama did the same thing against Michigan in that first half. They looked like garbage for a lot of the same reason. That's exactly where you drew that line. That was exactly what I was going to point to. That tackle has no business helping on a 3 technique.
No, he needs to
No
have his
business
eyes
helping on a 3.
outside.
And and it's one of those things that people may say, well, who are you to say that? I mean, dude, they're middle school kids that know that if there's an outside threat and you're a tackle, you better get the outside threat, because that is exactly how heavy pressure gets put on the quarterback up the middle and off the side. And I promise you that if you let a free runner come at a 45-degree angle from the edge of the quarterback, he is going to be fast, and there ain't much that quarterback can do about it. Just like what happens, to Sanders right here. I mean, all he can do is just squat down and take it.
Yep. I mean, we see it a lot. And he actually gets something right here that I'd say he gets more than what you'd expect right here with this touchdown that he threw, because I mean he has somebody coming right in his face, and he really
Yeah,
didn't have the best footwork here for it. He kind of steps right more than anything, and kind of has to throw back across his body to complete this, but it works out.
and what's this ball right here?
Yeah, I don't
Dude,
know
and
why.
you think
I
he
don't know
just
why he opens left.
well, that's what I wondered. I didn't know at first. I didn't know if this is a play action look that just didn't really make sense right here, or if he kind of bobbles it or what it is. But he clearly,
No, I mean he
yeah, I
he
don't know.
he clearly opens left. I no
Yeah,
idea why.
yeah, just looks like he's confused. Look like he's looking for a running back, to across his face right there.
But then he starts to run right and then just stops and throws back across his body. So I mean, works out, gets the defenders following him to the right, gets their eyes on him, clear out the left side and throws back.
That's smart.
I mean, then again, going back to it, one read, little dump off passes underneath, worked out for him all year. Why not? You know, let them take that 50-50 fourth and 4, throw it to the line, and let them get some yards. I mean, that's just like a little hitch right there. Runs
Yeah,
3 yards, turns around, at least till go down at the line of, or at the line of the first down marker. So I mean, just taking what's given, and then here we get to see that running ability. Um,
yeah.
I mean, he's good at running when he can. Give him the ability, he can take the ball and run with it. I mean, he's not a small guy either.
No,
Here we get I really like this pass. It's a good pass over the middle of the field. You don't see it much, and this is probably his longest pass of the night that he completed. And, I mean, he looks him all the way in. So I mean, he's thrown to this guy, but I think 10 has a choice route right here and just decides to, turn around and stop. And it's that chemistry like we talked about with Travis Hunter earlier.
And that's the thing that, I think what he really, because, and I know that it's not in this one that we see, but in some of those passes, just like you said, like, the choice routes where Travis Hunter will sit down. What, really stood out to me when we were watching those was how quickly Sanders is getting rid of the ball. And that's what I want to see because I mean that's really what impressed me about him in watching those other films on our Travis Hunter video is that is the confidence that I think he can have. And I think that if that they're ever going to tap into his full potential at Colorado, they're going to have to set an offense that he feels confident in, that he can do the things that he is strong at because most of the time, I think a coach would just lose his mind when you see him just straight throwing at Travis Hunter's back. But he knows when he's going to turn around. And Travis Hunter knows when he's going to throw football. And so, I mean, it works out. And so, I mean, they have a connection that is, really amazing. And I even like on this one right here, I mean, like you say, I mean, this is a good job. I mean, this is a really strong throw. He knows he waits for him to turn. It's not quite as quick as what it was later in the season. 100, but nevertheless, that's a good throw. See, there's him stepping up in the pocket, and I understand that. I really understand that. This is better protection. You got to say. I mean, there's nobody back there on his legs. The whole pocket's not collapsing around him. 69. I mean, he looks like he's pretty well whipped, but it works out. And one of the things that I think that you got to point out with that Colorado offensive line, the three guys inside, other than when we saw them totally miss that blitzer, um, they have done a good job of shifting the defensive line off to one side, and that's what and that's what's going to really open up those B gap escape routes that I think that he could really take advantage of because the thing here is he's not running. He doesn't look like he doesn't look like he's running as hard as he could run, but he's running safely. Like I mean, he gets big yards here, but he's never in at risk of contact. He's always drifting toward the sideline. He's very aware of where he's at, and he's very aware that it's best for him to get as many yards as he needs to get and live to play the next next down. And he's got a quick first step, beats all those front rushers.
And has good vision carrying the ball.
That's a really good run. And and he honestly right there. I mean, that's one of the things that I think is neat about this one is this is where you see him. I think living up, that Sanders name as a runner because he looks like Dion. I mean, he's in control of the situation. He's looking around, he sees what's happening, and once again, I mean, I think that's what you could see from him when he is in a place where he can be confident. So I mean, I want to see that. I don't know how great or how not great he can be, but I would like to see him get his shot whenever he is confident in what's around him. I mean, I think it could turn out to be a good thing for him.
Yeah. So this one, just another one of those. He probably could have stepped up and got another second, but just got to be more confident in throwing the ball. At least get the ball out of there, throw the ball away. Because I mean, you got to do something. They're giving you at least 3 seconds right there. Make a throw or throw it away.
Yep. And and you had what was it? There was an opposing coach that said that he's eating all these
Yeah,
sacks,
okay.
in order
To save his
to.
throwing percentage.
I think that's about as stupid as anything I've ever heard in my life. I think he's wanting to make a play.
I think he's just
And
not.
because
I think he just isn't confident enough to throw it to them smaller windows in his play yet and in his arm. I mean, I think he could do it. I just don't think he trusts himself that he can do it. So a lot of the times when he throws it, it's got to be one of those like one read, like I know I'm throwing here, or it's got to be,
Yeah.
hey, this is open, like wide open, and I can see it, and I'm gonna throw that where there is no real, chance of me messing up here.
And the thing too, I think that goes along with that, and that it just occurs to me. And I know everybody does different things for different reasons. They have different motivations, but this makes me wonder, like, because like and I know that, like, every time somebody says something negative about Colorado or Deion Sanders, you always have people who come biting back at you. Oh, you're just saying this for whatever. I really think that Shedeur Sanders would have been a lot better off had he never played at Jackson State, because I think that what you're seeing is that there is a lack of development that he needed. That's not to say that he isn't a good quarterback and he doesn't have the potential to be a really good quarterback. It's just that he's behind, and it did not help him being behind this offensive line last year. Because if you have aspects of the game that you're struggling with, if confidence is an issue, I can tell you
That
one
hurts
way
your
you don't fix it
confidence. That
is
hurts it.
is putting him behind an offensive line that that you're honestly thinking, hospital or funeral home. That does not boost a quarterback's confidence. And what he needs to be set up so he can win. And that's what I keep saying. I hope that Shermer can do something for him in that regard. Because I mean he's taking his lumps. So here we got an empty set, got good protection right there.
Yeah, and I mean,
That's a good play.
that again, same receiver as we saw earlier, though. Just knowing that that'll be there. Said looks it in the whole way through, almost the same exact type of route as well.
Yeah.
So in this one, same thing as one of the first few clips on that deep ball. It's just, I know I'm throwing here, doesn't really place it well, places it inside and on target instead of ahead of target. And outside, and that's a big reason why this ball's incomplete because
And I tell you,
he has the step
yeah,
on him. He really
that's
does. So
exactly it.
you place that ball ahead, and even inside and ahead, like he has a big enough step where that ball is completable. Said and I mean I think you know he kind of has to slow down for it. So I mean, you
Yeah,
know, just throw that ball a little more out there, even outside. I mean, that's a catch.
I
First and
think so.
20.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, and obviously, I mean, there's no hope of them mounting any kind of a comeback. But that's the thing right there that you'd like to see is, like, can we connect on something like that? Like, I mean, small victories. That is so much better against the same defensive back. If I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken, I think number
same
5
one.
was the same guy.
Yeah.
And so you've got the step. You've got that go route figured out on this guy off your pass, your play action look. Um, Stretch that thing out there, and I think he probably picks up 30 yards.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Here, a lot of that footwork again, and ends up just dumping it off. I mean, has the ability to hit that check down, which a lot of people you'll see push it down the field like you talked about earlier. Glad he can hit a check down. You got to be thinking as a
yeah.
coach, that's a good thing. We can have a check down route and it actually be utilized.
And I mean, right here, I mean, obviously it doesn't help them out yards wise, really, but second and nine is better than
First
second
and
and
10
10.
or second and 10, yeah.
And that's exactly it. And I
That or
mean,
even
it's
an
a good thing.
interception or, something
Yeah,
worse.
I mean, you're a little better than you were. You're living, to fight another down. I mean, I think he can do that for you. Um, Now, one of the things I wonder right here, uh, on that one
Is how is
is,
that flood looking? That's what I wonder. I wonder if I mean I can't really see it, but that flood, somebody is probably open.
well, I mean, I think though too with that the problem that you run into look what the right tackle does. I mean, the right tackle don't. I mean, he can't really get over there. And
Oh
to
yeah.
me, it seems or it feels like he wants to drift a little to that side to make that throw. But I mean, they got I always think that's effective. I mean, whenever you get this stack look, I always think it's a really effective way to run. Yep.
I mean,
I don't know. I mean, I
that's an
think
obvious
that's
flood though.
yeah, it is. I think that tackle is, working out right there. Right there, man. That running back, you talk about somebody who needs a rider, man. That boy needs it. Um, I mean, how do you miss this linebacker? I don't understand it at all. And to
No,
me, like
he
what
shot away from contact.
well,
Look at him
that's
curl
what
up
gets
right
me
there.
is I mean, Sanders is taking a lot of contact in this game, and you got to help him out. And whenever you're the running back, and and you're headed up here on this, this fake, that's one of the primary jobs. Is typically you get in there and you try to cut him down, or you at least try to pick him up. And it almost, I mean, it looks to me like he just goes up and just, yep, just slides into the left of him, right there.
Yeah, because I mean, you can see him tuck that shoulder.
Yeah. And boy, I mean, Shedeur Sanders is just a sitting duck right there because running back didn't block a linebacker. And that's what that boils down to. Yeah, you got a
Yeah,
penalty out of it. You also got him, slung around.
killed. Yeah, say it's not
So
worth
here,
50. It's not worth the penalty,
no. So here we
especially
are,
with the gain you could have.
ace, double twins, standard air raid look.
3rd and 3, looking for something short, and you get the check down again for that first down.
That ain't bad right there, in my opinion. Because it looks like, run
I mean, he
it's
goes
like,
through he
the
goes
route.
through 3 reads right there.
He does. Yeah, he does. I mean, that's one of those things that I think, that's what has to give you, some, gives you a little bit of pause for a positive reason and say, hey, he worked the field right here. So it almost looked like they running right here. I mean, I know they got, fade out down here at the bottom. It's almost like they got something that looks like a Y cross concept, but that's not really the route that, you expect that inside receiver on the left side to run. But
No, it looked
nevertheless, I
like
mean,
it did look like a Y cross though, with him going vertical and him cutting across the
it's,
field
I
up
mean,
at the top.
yeah, I mean, you'd wonder, you wonder with that one why that he didn't, go under the Sam, over the mic. But maybe it's because they had that backer out here to the outside. I don't know. But I mean, you'd think that more 45-degree angle would get him where he needs to be. So number two's walling him off. I'd say that's the reason that he didn't go. So he's like, I'm gonna have to want to go underneath him and really get chucked pretty hard. So I get that, and and it's like I say, even with that, that's good on Shedeur. I mean, he sees what's going on, and he finds his check down. Everything's covered up.
Yeah,
Make that linebacker get over there and make that tackle on the sideline. Wind up picking up first down. That's a good play.
yeah. So then,
If you are, once again, man, I mean, just a total circus.
yeah,
He's a poor old guy. That's all you can say. He's a poor old guy. He's flat, at that point, man, you're running for your life. I mean, there ain't nothing you can do. Now, could he step up? Yeah, he could, maybe. But I tell you, I mean, if you go back and you look, if you look at these right here, I I don't think you can fault him. Theoretically, you'd like to say, hey, work the pocket, but man, 69, that guy might not. He may as well not even been there. He's got a lane he could get in, but I think by the time that that he steps up a yard or two, uh, this end's going to affect the play. And I mean, I don't know if there's much he can do. I don't think that was a bad idea there to roll out, but I tell you, I mean, I would wonder in that scenario, you know, I was going to say, why not bootleg it? Well, you can't bootleg it whenever you got that linebacker right there in your mouth.
Yeah, I mean
So yeah,
that drag's open though on that rub. I mean, step up and I mean it's open. I mean even just be on Tom because I mean he that's his drop. If you replayed that again, you can see
yeah,
him where he bounces into his drop. You immediately step up and you throw that drag right there. Now step up and I
yeah.
mean he goes right past you. That end goes right past you and you hit number 10 right there. I mean, that's playing on time though. Like that's playing within your footwork. If he takes an actual 3-step drop instead of little short choppy steps when he's dropping back, you go 1, 2, 3, and then plant, step forward and throw. You know, he's playing in time that turns out complete, and he gets probably 10 yards. But I mean, you never really see Shedeur and them play on time. Kind of just play off of time with non-traditional footwork. So I mean, I'd hope to see that implemented over the off season, whether it be spring or fall. I'm sure we'll watch their spring game and cover it, but that's one thing that I'd be looking for when we do cover that is just see how his footwork has improved with the offense and see if they're playing on time or out of time still.
So yeah, I mean, we got like we say, I mean, I think that there's definitely some weaknesses to point out, like what we said here tonight, and they're not all of them in Shedeur Sanders. I mean, there are some things he's going to have to fix. There's plenty of things around him that's going to have to be fixed. From a coaching standpoint, from a player's, I guess, personnel standpoint. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen with the Pat Shermer acquisition. I think that could really help him out. And I hope it does. I mean, I'm one of those that, even if people think that, that we're, I guess, throwing dirt, on various people, I want to see them win. I want to see them have success, see them do better. And I think that, Shedeur Sanders is going to have the opportunity to really improve this year. And as he goes, I think that's how Colorado's going to go. And so I'm interested to see what happens with him.
Yeah, I think this was meant to be a Shedeur Sanders video, turned into more of a Colorado's coaches need some improvement. The line, they need to improve, and here's what they're doing wrong. And Shedeur's kind of getting flack for all of it, and he kind of
Yeah,
does what he's supposed to most of the time, and he's a little behind the curve, but he can get there. So I mean, you know,
yeah, yeah,
the future at Colorado, it could be very good. So I mean, I know we'll talk about their season outlook soon on. So I mean, I don't want to spoil anything for how we feel about their season, but I think that there could be lots more improvement coming off the last year with this Colorado team.
yeah. I agree with you.
Um, that being said, though, for all of us here, stay locked in, everyone.